Not to be one to kill the mood, but these Williston memory-making moments are coming to a close for you. The party's almost over. But not before you hear from someone who, like you, has spent his life creating memorable moments for others. You are really lucky, I should say we are really lucky, to have today's speaker, Mr. Brad Hall, Williston class of 1975, here today. I tried to get him to come last year, but he used the lame excuse of his son's graduation from Wesleyan. Then I found out that the school had actually asked him to speak many years ago, but that same son was graduating from kindergarten. I'm not sure if that's a true story. But this is true. Brad flew out from LA just to be here with you this morning and to celebrate with you this important rite of passage. When Brad graduated from Williston in 1975, and I looked at his yearbook to check out the cool turtlenecks, hairstyles, and plaid pants, he went on to Northwestern University. And he did what I hope all of you will do. He pursued his passion, which in this case was acting and writing. In fact, before the word entrepreneurial became a buzzword of the day, Brad Hall was just that. The comedy group that he co-founded in college was hired by a show that some of you guys may have heard of. It's called Saturday Night Live, where Brad was a member of the cast for 2 years before pursuing his writing more full-time. I could go on to describe Brad's accomplishments for you, but he would probably say, yada, 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 and have me move on. One thing I know, that if his email correspondence to me is any indication, we are all in for some memorable lines from Mr. Brad Hall. Welcome.
Thanks so much. Headmaster Hill, members of the board, alumni, teachers, staff, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, friends of the school, that guy who just walked in thinking this was a wedding with an open bar, but especially class of 2015, it is an honor to address you on this auspicious day, a day that I have been dreading since Headmaster Hill first asked me to speak. You see, when the headmaster of the high school that you went to asks you to come back and give what's basically an oral report, that to me is a nightmare. And I mean that literally. I have been having a recurring nightmare for decades, this is true, about having to come back to Williston and give a report, and I never know what the report is about. So thank you for making my most horrible dreams come true. At least I'm clothed, because usually in my dream, I am naked. Although sometimes I'm dressed like Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Oh crap. I am dressed like Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Well, maybe my dream is coming true right now in front of all of you, which, that's good news for you, because it means in a minute, you're gonna meet Sofia Vergara. And she will not be dressed like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But I digress, and I plan to continue that for the next 10 or 15 minutes. But you guys, you did it. Class of 2015. You've been looking forward to this day for at least 13 years. That's how long you've been going to school. Can you believe that? 13 years, 9 months a year, 5 days a week, or at some cruel, barbaric institutions, 6 days a week for 13 years. Well, guess what? It's over. You're done. You're done with school. You never have to read another book. You never have to go to class. You never have to take another exam. You don't have to get up before noon. Never again. Oh, wait. This is high school graduation, yes. Yes, you've got college to look forward to, and then graduate school, and then postgraduate school, and then prison. And prison is 7 days a week, unless you get an ankle bracelet, which are kind of cool. But let's get back to the Saturday classes just for 1 second. I mean, you guys, you probably think it's fine and you're used to it, but let me tell you, it is unnatural. It's against the laws of God and man. I went here a long time ago, but we did, and things really, believe me, have gotten a lot better at Williston than when I was here, but we did not have Saturday classes. We didn't have Monday classes, or Wednesday or Friday. We had classes Tuesday morning, and then on Thursday for a few minutes. And that is the Williston way. I don't know what's happened to higher education. Actually, I've noticed that a lot of things have changed since I was here. I understand you guys had a great football team, right? You went to the championship game? Yes! We had a football team. I was on it. We weren't quite as good as you guys. In fact, more than half of our team was killed in the Wilbraham-Munson game. It was a different game. It was a rougher game then. And I've looked around the campus. The campus is so beautiful. I mean, it really is. You've got the athletic center is amazing. You've got this great campus center. All these buildings are so beautiful. I went here so long ago. When I went here, there were no buildings. They hadn't built. We had a few teepees that we put up on a glacier out there. And at night, we would sneak into the Manhan, into the woods. And we would kill wild animals with our bare hands for food. And then we would burn their hides for warmth. And then we would trade their tusks for slices at Antonio's. So clearly they've changed. I think the kids were different then too. I really do. I look at you guys, first of all, you seem very clean and well-mannered and focused. And I've been talking to the faculty and to these guys, and they say that you guys are really committed and serious. We weren't like that. We were different. I'm trying to think of the word. We were awful. We were awful people. We were selfish. We were hedonistic. We were arrogant. All we wanted to do was break rules. We snuck out of the dorms constantly. I mean, nobody does that anymore. Right? You probably really don't, because you have security. They hadn't invented security. I mean that. But you guys seem to really appreciate the gifts that you've been given, like coming to a place as diverse and as special and as unique as Williston. You guys have a real sense of community, and your relationships with each other in the school, they're so lovely that it reminds me of exactly how crappy it was when I was here. So thank you so much for depressing me about my youth. The truth is, I really think that you guys are better people than we were. I mean that. I mean, I think that you should be giving me advice, not the other way around. What am I supposed to tell you guys about the future? I mean, you literally are the future. Is that using literally right? Somebody tell me. I don't know. But speaking of the future, I found something cool in my old Williston file. I had a class when I was here, an English class, that was called something like Utopian Fiction, or I don't really remember, Visions of Utopia or something. And we had to write a paper that was predictions about the future, about 2015. So I dug that paper out and I looked at it just to see if anything that I predicted would even, marginally come true. And after predicting that we'd all be driving flying cars, I don't know why people predict that. That will never happen. There will never be a flying car. But some of my predictions really were not so bad. I predicted that there would be an African-American president, and she would be gay. So I was close. I predicted that there would be a terrible, terrible recession, and that in its wake, right-wing zombie warlords would take over the nation. So we'll have to wait till the election results of 2016 to see if that one comes true. And I predicted that Williston Northampton would tighten up its admissions requirements so much that only super geniuses and super athletic geniuses and super prodigies in music and the arts would be admitted. And the classes would get smaller and smaller every year until in 2015, the entire class would be Marie Inarelli and Kurt McLeod. I don't even know who those people are, but that's what I predicted. I'll make another prediction right now. No matter what you guys decide to pursue in college or beyond, it won't be long before you look back and you say, oh my God, I'm so glad that I tried that at Williston. I mean, for me, it was football, it was caterwaulers, and it was the theater. I was trying to be the John Kay of my generation. But you guys have been so brave to try so many different things. And when you think about it, you've tried Writer's Workshop, crew, dance, student council, whatever it is. It might be reading minds like Anthony Lung. Side note, I didn't know what I was going to say today. So I had Anthony read my mind. And then I wrote down what he said I was going to say, and that's what I'm saying now. And he stole my watch. But Williston will loom large in your lives as it has in mine. I've been lucky enough to be an actor and a writer and a director and musician for a long time, and I was interested in all that at Williston. And then after Williston, I did some serious training, but it was here in the Caterwallers with Dick Gregory, and especially on the stage under the skilled and loving direction of Ellis Baker, who I hope is here today. That's where I gained the confidence to go out and do something really important, fail. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today, is failure. I wish you guys tremendous success in whatever you do. I hope that you work really hard to do good as well as to do well. And I hope that you have fantastic college careers and that you have happy marriages and really good divorces and darling children. But I also hope that you fail. I hope that all of you are great, big, fabulous failures. Now, why would I wish such a thing on gentle youths like yourselves? I mean, failure is painful. It's hard. And I don't believe there's any virtue in hardship just for the sake of hardship. I worked the graveyard shift at a Taco Bell when I was your age, and it was not marginally character building. Believe me, my hair smells like cheesy gorditas to this day. David Brooks, the New York Times columnist with whom I only occasionally agree, but I do on this, he once wrote that there's nothing ennobling intrinsically about failure and suffering. And I think he's right. There are 3 billion people in the world who don't have access to clean water. 3 billion people. I don't think that they are ennobled by their suffering. But I do think that sometimes, in some places, for some people, and those people are us, there are times when a little suffering, a little hardship, and a little failure have a big value. In a lot of ways, from now on, your life is going to be an opportunity to evaluate risk versus reward. And generally, if you risk nothing, you'll gain nothing. And every time that you take risks, when you really put everything on the line, there is the possibility that you will fail. In fact, that's a certainty. Even those of us lucky enough to receive a Williston education will at some point fail. So I'm not really hoping that you fail, I'm pointing out that you will and trying to think of a sort of jujitsu to make that failure positive. When I took the stage here at Williston, I got to play Hamlet. I was 16 years old, that's too young to play Hamlet. I had no idea what I was doing, but Ellis Baker took a risk on me, and I learned over the space of just a few weeks of rehearsal and then 9 or 10 performances so much. I learned how to speak verse, I learned how to love Shakespeare, understand Shakespeare. But what was much more important was that I was gaining confidence. A little voice in my head was saying, if you work hard, you can learn these lines, you can make a few old ladies from East Hampton cry, and you can wear tights in front of your Williston peers without shame. Now, lucky for me, I didn't fail at that critical moment in my youth. The show went great. It's still a big highlight of my young life, but I failed later. I failed many times. In bigger venues, on bigger stages, in front of cameras. I failed as an actor, as a writer, as a director, and sometimes I failed brutally painfully. I directed a show in New York once. It was a complete failure. It got reviews that were so bad that mentioning it to you now is making my feet sweat. The crazy thing is that it's those few failures, I think, more than lots of success, that has made me work harder the next time out and taught me some valuable, surprising lesson. In the case of that play in New York, the lesson is, don't put on a crappy show. Remember that. When that play got panned in the New York Times and our investors lost everything, my relatives and friends, I was so humiliated I just wanted to crawl into a hole. But I was actually learning something. One thing I learned was who my friends really were, who would really stick with me through thick and thin. And the other thing that I learned was that I loved it so much that I couldn't stop. Failure could not make me quit. It's not fashionable to quote Rudyard Kipling, I think because he's a racist, misogynist, imperialist. But of all the really terrible poets, I think he's one of the best. And in his sort of hacky but wonderful poem, If, he says it's a tremendous virtue to be able to watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. Failure is not the end. You can start all over if you're desperate or if you really love what you're doing. So here's a free commencement speech cliche. Those of you playing the commencement cliche game at home, you fill your shot glass now. Find your passion, make that your purpose, then pursue it like a crazy person. And here's the part that's not a cliche. Make that pursuit its own reward. Don't do it for the money or for the recognition. Do it because you love doing it. And be careful what you choose. Things that are deeply satisfying, that go beyond earthly rewards to really reward your soul, they will always have an element of service, of selflessness, and of collaboration. These will be the things that are worth failing at over and over until you finally succeed. Failure can also teach us the limits of our own power. Some things just, they aren't in our control. I couldn't control what that critic was going to say about my play in New York. If I could have, I would have killed him the night before the show. And you guys will not be able to control what the professor in your freshman American Lit class is going to say about the first college English paper that you write. That's going to be up to her. What's up to you is doing the work, blowing off that party to rewrite the paper again, proofing it for the 1,000th time, sending it here to Headmaster Hill for his comments. I mean, he's the headmaster. What else is he going to do? You control all of that. And if you do that, and you do it well, and you do it to the best of your ability, and you still fail, screw him. You know, get back on the horse, do it again, and do it better. And if we're still talking about that English paper, get off the horse. Why are you trying to write an English paper on a horse? That's not going to work. So failure can help us get a little better at what we do, but it can also teach us a few lessons about who we are. First, if you're willing to learn from it, failure can really teach you something about humility. But in the end, I think its deepest lessons are about compassion. You see, we all fail. It doesn't matter who we are, or what awards you won yesterday, or who's in cum laude or who's not. It doesn't matter. We're all going to fail. And when you do, you'll be hurt and you'll be angry. And it's very easy to let that harden us, both to our own real feelings and to the feelings of others. The difficult thing, and the thing that I would ask you to try to do, is to discipline yourself, to look around, and to respond to the pain and the hurt in others. Not just your friends. I mean everybody that you see, people that you see every day and everywhere. The easy thing is not to pay attention, not to be aware. Caring about people takes practice. So I suggest you start that practice now, while you're young and hopeful, and it will give you comfort when you are neither. So a couple days ago, I was telling a friend of mine that I was going to talk to you guys about failure, and he said, "Oh, that's great. J.K. Rowling gave a speech about failure." And I said, "Oh, that's great. Thanks, J.K. My failure speech is a failure." So I said, "Oh, God, I better look at this on YouTube." So I looked at it on YouTube, and it's a completely different talk, thank God. She talks a lot more about wizards than I plan to. Although I could start that now. She did say one thing about failure, though, that I want to pass on to you. Failure, she said, is the stripping away of the inessential. I like that. She says, when you really and thoroughly fail, you can start clean. Well, you guys certainly have not failed by getting through and graduating from Williston, but you do now have the chance to start clean. High school graduation is one of those great transitions where you really go from being a kid to becoming an adult. And now today, when you get that diploma, it's a clean slate. You can do whatever you want. So I look forward to leaving you with a string of beautiful failures that will make you a resilient, powerful, and compassionate success. And I do want to give you just one other little bit of advice, and I'm going to deliver this musically. I need a chair. This is something that all commencement speakers should say to graduating people, but they very rarely do. And if you remember nothing else that I say today, and believe me, you will remember nothing. Do remember this. It's a little off color, so I apologize to the parents, but You know, these guys, most of them are 18, and some of the PGs are in their 30s. So, is it really terrible to hear a little bit of off-color language? Not that off-color. But feel free to sing along if you know the tune, which would be remarkable because I wrote it last night. And it goes exactly like this. Can you hear that at all? Don't be an asshole. Don't be a jerk. Don't be a son of a bitch, especially if you happen to get rich. Don't be an a-hole. Don't be a slimeball, a dirtbag, or weasel. Put your phone down once in a while. Say hello to people. Sing along. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a jerk. Don't be a son of a bitch, especially if you happen to get rich. Don't be an asshole. No, 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 no asshole. Had fun in college, guys.
Just try to be me right now and think what you're supposed to say. Okay, just try that. I mean, I have a couple thoughts in mind. One of them is, if I'd known the guy was such a failure, I would have gotten some other alum to come speak. The other, I was going to say something like one of those words he used and said, I should have gotten Brad Pitt to speak, not Brad Hall. But, there's really nothing I can say. What I would like to do, though, is to present Brad Hall with a signed copy from the cast of As You Like It, in memory of his time at the school as a thespian here as well. And thank him again.